for those who come after.
You're listening to Game and Chat, where we level up with conversations about gaming then and now. I'm your host, Daniel, aka One to Switcheroo. So let's press start and game on.
Welcome everyone to Season 2 of Game and Chat, streamed directly to your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, or all of the above to support the cause. And with that being said, welcome everyone back to Season 2, Episode 8. We finally made it to number 8, and boy, oh boy, let me just tell you guys that I had to make some schedule arrangements and move some of my podcast content for the rest of the year because I needed to make space for this specific game we're going to talk about today. I can even begin how this work of art, literally, as you might listen to this and understand where everything's going, just sneak into my gaming catalog, and it made one of the biggest impacts, if not the biggest impact, in a very long time. And it came from a game that came out of nowhere. It was made against all odds and all possibilities to be seen or recognized, and today straight up is one of the best games I ever played in my life. And I'm talking about top 5 games I ever played in my whole life. It might be the best game I played in the last decade, and this is saying by somebody that his favorite game of all time is Tears of the Kingdom, that came out 2 years ago. This game is actually right up there alongside it, maybe on some aspects higher even. I don't know how to explain it. This is something that I didn't experience in a while, and it's kind of like a sentiment that I know I had and I know that I love, but somehow it got lost for a very long time. And by playing this game, going through it, and then finishing it, it kind of rekindled that passion that I have for this genre in particular. So it only is fair for us to talk about this and let everything out while everything's fresh. I just finished it last week, and it is just mind-blowing, and this is something that we can talk about this forever, but we're gonna do a little fun. We're gonna do a little special. This episode is gonna be a little different in terms of the talking points. I mean, the talking points will remain the same, but more so how this episode is structured, you guys will see. But anyway, guys, we are going to talk about the big game of this year, the biggest game of this year, at least for me and for a lot of those also that support the sentiment. It is time to talk about from Soundfall Interactive, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. And this is something that, you know, a lot of people were saying, and myself included, that, oh, I think they're just giving too much hype to this game. Like, it looks fine. It looks like a fancier Persona 5 crossed with Final Fantasy. I'm sure it's gonna be fun. I might just check it out. And then I check it out. And just the first hour of the game is just like, what is this game? What did I get myself into? In a very good way. It's not even about the gameplay, which, mind you, the gameplay is amazing, but when I'm telling you that this has the perfect mix of every single aspect that makes a video game a masterpiece, a work of art, this is it. This is a blueprint, and this game is gonna become the blueprint for all those games that will come after this one. So they really nailed some of the quotas that they put into this game, and this is how we're gonna base it about just how it's, when it's talking about emotional impact, this is the perfect example. And it's every time I go back and I reminiscent, and this is something I've been doing every day ever since I finished it up. You will be thinking about this game for a very long time, and you're going to be quoting this game for a very long time. You're going to be humming to the music to this game for a very long time. That's what makes a game special. And you guys know me. I'm a sucker for music and a good storytelling. And this is one of the best soundtracks and storytelling I've seen in my gaming life. I would say even top 3 for sure. And the distance between the other ones is not even close. So it is an episode that, as every episode, is special, but particularly this, I feel is something that I need to talk about and get off my chest, because it makes me happy, it makes me sad, it makes me feel emotions, and when a game makes me feel all these emotions, I know it's gonna be something that will remain for the rest of my lifetime in this planet. So we're definitely gonna talk about a couple of things. Of course, majority of the episode will be very spoiler free, but there will be a moment that I'm gonna ask my kind viewers that haven't seen the episode to please step aside or at least skip until the very end, because there's no way for us to talk about this without touching about the spoilers and the heavy plot points of the game that occur later on. So we're definitely going to look into this, and we're going to reminiscent, and I hope you guys enjoy me as we go back to the city of Lumiere and we relive the magical things, tragic and magical, that this game entails. So without further ado, guys, welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of Game and Chat, the greatest expedition in history. Part 1. Quote: "If you're gonna give someone flowers, you should probably do it before they wither and die." End quote. This is the first line that you hear in the game, and it kind of sets the setting for everything that's bound to happen eventually. And this is how we get thrown into this game. And for this, we're going to talk about the setting and the first probably 10-15 minutes of the game, the first hour pretty much, which puts us on the city, what you call it, post-apocalyptic kind of thing, city of Lumiere, a city filled with joy, but also filled with inevitable death. But it's not the inevitable death that we all know. It's one that is predetermined by the gods of this world. We are in the world that is being ruled by the being in a monolith. There's this big monolith at the end of the ocean that you can see from Lumiere and from the other end of the world. And on this monolith, there is this being that rules above everything else and basically writes the fate of the people. And the Lumiere citizens refer her as the Paintress. The Paintress, every year, she will paint a number on this monolith, a number that counts backwards back to 0. And when we start the game, we are on year 34, and she is on the way to change that number to 33. As she does this, every person in Lumiere that is 33 or over will disappear into nothingness. Think about it as like the Thanos snap, but I would even say more tragic, because this is something that the people of Lumiere have been dealing with for a very long time, and all the older citizens get vanished every year, and the top year to live becomes lower and lower. So, due to this fact, every year, a group of people called the Expeditioners will go on a crusade of their own with one objective and one objective only: to destroy her and to end the cycle of death that's been haunting this city, this world, from millennia. The events of people vanishing and disappearing when the painters paints their number, it's called the Gommage, and it's kind of like a sad version of a New Year's celebration. And you know, this world, it's been so used to this tragic event that instead of lamenting, which in the end of the day they do lament, they do grieve, they made it into a whole celebration. You start the game in the city of Lumiere, beautifully decorated and full of red flowers and people just gathering, which seemed to be happy celebration at first, kind of like a bittersweet, more so because these people already know what's going to happen, and in the end of the day, the only thing you can do is enjoy the little time that you have with your loved ones before the paintress do its deed. And you know, with this premise already set up, and I don't want to continue talking about the game because I'm going to start spoiling it, because spoilers start in the first 10 minutes already. So we're going to leave that to its own section. But just the setting along of what you're going to encounter and what you're about to experience, it's already a good premise, but what comes after leaves you even mind blown, and all the twists and turns that will come. It's just something that I don't think a single gamer that sit down and play this game, as experience in gaming history may have, you wouldn't find this plot twist to happen. And it's crazy how, you know, we start on this kind of like sad setting, and for most of it, I mean, if you haven't seen the trailer, if you just jump in blind into this game, it's completely blank. Like you just drop on the city and you just walk around, you have to figure out what's going on, and at the moment you start like figuring out what's going on and you get to talk to the people in the city, and you start kind of like putting the pieces together, it kind of hits you, and it really the game does a really good job on setting up the player for motivation. And those first maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending of how much you explore before the first big cutscene, it's very crazy how they handle it. And I really had to give it to Samfell Interactive for like come up with this concept. They really master the craft for storytelling, and this game is the perfect example, the only example and the perfect example of all the better games that we will have to come. But it's a very emotional heavy from the start, and it is only gonna get even more emotional from this point onward. Part 2. Quote, "When one falls, we continue. Not if, when." End quote. As we briefly mentioned, how this game sets the mood for the emotional roller coaster that you're about to experience. And I gotta say, whereas a lot of games have their strengths in their gameplay, and don't get me wrong, this has one of the best gameplay mechanics on RPG or even any game I played in a very long time. What takes it to the next level is the story and the themes that are talked about and the emotional impact. This is a game that will have you question life as it is or as you want it to be. And the whole idea of when something really makes an impact on you and makes you think a lot of things, in your personal life, things as they are, things on how could they be, and us accepting reality. It's basically something that anyone, no matter how, I don't want to say how secure or insecure you may be, it's a question that will always go in your head. And it's all the consistent what if I wouldn't make this decision instead of this decision. It could start by basically saying, what would happen if I would take the subway instead of the bus? What would happen if I wouldn't eat a pear instead of an apple? One action, it's opens a lot of multiverse. I know I'm not saying that this is a multiverse game, so don't worry about it. I know we have the whole multiverse fatigue right now, so this is more so about how do you live up with your decisions, especially decisions that you cannot change, like death. I mean, this game surrounds itself about death and how all of the characters in this world deal with that. I mean, we're talking about the premise of being in a world that your days are numbered, literally. And that number, it's lowered and lowered every single year. So it is very interesting how through listening to the characters and seeing interactions within each other and like with the world can tell you a lot of different emotions that can cross through your mind when you think about these things. And when I said about the story being like the peak and the highlight of this game, is because like not only we're talking about the main core of the story. Some people would just want to beat the story and just want to beat the main quest and be done with it. It is the little nuances that you find within the main quest and the side quest that gives you even more context. And I feel like this is one of the games that is worth to re-explore. And if you feel like you want to detour somewhere, don't feel bad about it, because I did a lot of detouring on my main quest, and not only that, end up with better gear and pictos to help me on my main objectives, but the nuances of story that I discovered were just mind-blowing, and it only adds to the toll of what you are feeling and going to feel throughout this whole game, and how everything just connects and it blends together with the setting, with the artwork. And just to briefly mention that the art direction of this game is just beautifully made, and not often do we get to see an RPG that is produced in the West. So it is very nice to see that after a few years the West finally got it right. We got all the inspirations from all these games that came by that were amazing and were masterpieces, and a masterpiece among masterpieces came of its own with Expedition 33. But back to the storytelling, it's so well done, and it takes you on an expedition. Yes, there he is. Not even a journey. It takes you on an expedition. It's like everything is so well crafted and so roller coaster. The sadness moments are really sad. The comedic reliefs are right in the moment that are needed for you to kind of like ease the pain, just to at the end of the chapter to just stab you one more time with the knife on the chest and feel heartbroken over and over again. Yes, you're gonna be a lot of heartbroken in this game, and you'll see why if you play this game, and you're gonna get to the spoiler section. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about, and we're gonna get there, don't worry about it, because I need to vent on that matter. And there is, especially because if I were to think about a turning point in the game, and this is actually early because this is right on Act 1. Act 1 is so freaking important, and how this whole thing is going to develop, because it is something that you normally wouldn't expect from a video game. And the fact that they went to that direction and you are just there asking yourself, okay, now what? What is supposed to happen? How they threw you that curveball, and then how everything unravels afterward with Act 2, which is, you could say it's even worse. And then Act 3, which is the resolution of the conflict, quote unquote. But the fact that it just happens since Act 1, and at the end of Act 1, you had a good rhythm, and then this happens, it's just unbelievable. And it just makes you realize that, you know, like everything, appreciate the things that you have, people, and live your life and be happy. And when things doesn't seem to go into the right direction, think back of what you have that it is going in the right direction, or what you already have and what you already achieve. Yes, things might not go exactly the way we want to at first, but we can always come back and call ourselves in our current achievements and be proud of the things that we already did, and refine and rekindle that confidence on those facts in order to push ourselves forward to our next goal. Just putting it a little bland there, but it's the best way I can describe it. And like I said, all 3 acts of this game are monumentally important and shocking, but Act 1 had to be like the one that really like shook me to the core, and a lot of people seem to agree on this sentiment as well. Part 3, quote, "There will be a lot of fighting though." Oh yeah, that's true. I'm in. End quote. This, I think this is a better quote to start off this section, because we're going to talk a little bit about how the gameplay mechanics and innovation really took this game to a whole different level. And we've been talking about and the discussion overall about RPGs and JRPGs in specific, how they've been criticized for being a little too much turn-based, that you just have to go through menus and, you know, press the button and wait for something to happen, and hopefully I get a critical, or hopefully my character evades the hit by itself. And you know, my own husband is one of those who will say that, but it's just a bunch of menus. Why would you play a bunch of menus, you know? Well, this game can shut him up first. Love you, baby. But what I'm trying to say is that they really take the combat, the turn-based combat, and they took it to a whole different level. And mind you, this is something that we have seen before, and that's what they took an inspiration of games from, like, for example, Mario and Luigi, the Mario and Luigi games, and how you can use a turn-based combat, yes, but it's determined by actions that you do while you select your attack, and depending on those actions that those commands that you will input, you can get a critical hit, or you can execute the move at all, or the move won't have any effect. So it really adds a level of immersion that no regular RPGs may have. What Expedition 33 does, though, is take this premise already, which was implemented, and takes it to a whole nother level, and even evolves the formula even further. And what I really like about this game, and I love the fact that nothing gets thrown at you like right off the bat. I feel like if everything gets thrown at you right off the bat, you might feel a little overwhelmed, and with all the things that you can do in combat. But the fact that it's being like basically like split in between acts, pretty much, it really adds to the fact of feeling powerful, and you're really just like leveling up your attack and your defense and the ways how you approach battles, etc. As the enemies grew stronger, so was your attacks and your ways to counter them. and they really nailed the combat system. And I hope this is something that other franchises take notes, because it really made a huge difference when it comes down to gameplay. I mean, let's just talk about it from the start. I mean, right from the beginning of the game, you are invited to a duel just to experience the combat, and then you can see how the transitions and the interactions are just so flashy and scenic, and you can already see the inspirations that Samfall took from these games. For example, I mean, Persona 5 comes into mind from the moment you get into combat and you start selecting your menus, and how the menus are like laid out, and it's just so dynamic, and it really adds for each selection or each movement that you move, how the character reacts and gets ready for combat. It's just really freaking cool. And then from the moment that you start looking at your attacks and how many variations you have from different things that you can do with each character, is just great. And then the input commands are responsive, are quick, on your toes, and it really makes an impact on your actions and how the attack is going to perform. And it really keeps you engaged every single time. And I don't think I had a turn-based game that kept me this engaged as I was literally fighting a boss on an action-adventure game in general. And not only that, the fact that each character has its own traits makes this even better. I don't think there is a bad character in this game. There's no bad character in this game. They all have their strengths. They all have their, I don't want to say weakness, but like their intricacies, and how well you get along with these characters it's gonna be key in order to beat the game. And you feel like you think you can stick around with 3 party members to the entire game, and then you'll find yourself with certain people or certain attacks and abilities that will really turn the tides of the battle, especially like towards the mid-second to end of the game. It's really nice how they really combine all this. And if I were to mention my favorite one, well, for 75% of the entire game, my go-to was my girl Lune, because I'm a sucker for elemental attackers, and she's your elemental RPG mage, basically. And she really stick me out of trouble. But I have to say, after I start understanding CL, that really took it to a different level, especially towards the end of the game. It really helped a lot. So shout out to CL fans over there. You were right all along. She's a beast when it comes down to setting up your buffs and then getting your criticals out there. But anyway, it's incredible how they really took the combat system, like I said before, and took it to this whole new level of magnificency. And up until this day, like you go back and you think about the game, and all the times you parry, all the times you perfectly dodge, all the times you did a group counterattack. And like I said, it teaches you things over time. Like you start by just attacking, and then learning that you're able to either dodge or parry an attack. And the parries, this is the most satisfying parrying mechanic in any game ever. The fact that you can nail that parry and then just follows up with a very strong counter. It's almost to the point that it's better if you just counter everything, and you will deal even more damage than with your regular attacks. And I've seen already videos of people just beating like the final boss of the game by just parrying without attacking, and it's insane. But it's because the level of satisfaction that you get. And not only that, but like the enemies too make this more interesting, because again, it's not your classic RPG that will just sit down and will wait for the other one to attack and then pray for the best on, like, for them to evade it or to parry it. No, Like the enemies there's so much variety of enemies on the way they interact with you and attack you that you always need to be learning their patterns in order for you to be successful. Yes, you're gonna die a lot, people. This is not an easy game, and I'm not saying that in a matter of like, oh, it's too difficult, nobody can play it. It's gonna take some learning, and I do remember being frustrated the first 2 hours of the game because I didn't quite get the parry. But once you do, it's like literally one of the most satisfying things that you will ever experience in any game out there. I can guarantee you that. And like I said, there's no bad character, and every character has his traits and has his strengths. And combinations will play a huge part, and you're gonna find yourself using every single character at some point. Nobody's gonna get neglected because everybody will have the opportunity to excel. And the best part is, unlike other games, it's not you're stuck to the party selection that you picked. Turns out that if all your characters die, the backup is all the characters you didn't select, so they will jump right into combat, so you get another chance to even like turn the tides into the battle, which I think is really cool that they really take this approach. Like, it's a whole expedition. There's 6, 7, 8 people total. It only makes sense for the reserve team to come back and finish the battle if the first team didn't do it. So I really like that they thought of this, and it's just how all came together and made this one of the best, if not the best, battle mechanics RPG out there. And I really hope the big guys in the big industries take note, because I want to remind you that this was made by 30, maybe 33 people. And they just came up just like that with one of the best, if not the best, battle mechanics I ever played. And the level up system is also incredible, how they really approach this. And you get your classic elements like your skill tree for each characters and their own leveling, their own attacks that they will learn, and will provide certain advantages and whatnot. But also the introduction of Pictos, and think of Pictos as your badges on Super Mario Wonder or Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which are badges that will like give you like specific abilities or bonuses for things that you do in battle. And sometimes they will give you like a buff or an advantage towards like certain enemies or things. Like, for example, it will let you attack twice. It will let you like heal your party 20% every time you heal yourself, things like that. What really made this a huge difference, and I really appreciate again for like turning the tide and making the change, is that they actually made this available for all party characters to share their traits to everyone. And the way they approach this, so the badges in this game are called Pictos, and each Picto has an ability or a trait that will be assigned to that character, and each character can equip 3 Pictos. But you also gather a currency called Color of Lumina. Color of Lumina is gathered just in general, and then you distribute it by each character. Each Picto has a specific value in Color of Lumina. The more Color of Lumina or Lumina points your character will have, and if you can afford to put that Pictos in, then you can get literally all the abilities can be carried over for all the characters. So not only the 3 Pictos you have a specific for that specific character equipped, you can actually get those Pictos to other characters through their Color or Lumina points, and then you'll see all this stacked up Lumina and Pictos equipped on each characters, and the way they're activated in combat is crazy. And I'm sure some of you have seen it online, all the people that be getting like this crazy amount of damage and all the Lumina notifications that you get on the side of which ones are being activated, which is awesome because you are not locked. It really opens the liberty for you to customize the character the way you want, but not only that, but to share their abilities and traits with others. So you can literally be whoever you want. And, you know, yeah, it might take a little bit of grinding, but other than that, the fact that you have this much liberty and customization and leveling up and they distributing your points, it's incredible. And I don't see another scenario, and it's going to be really hard to see other games going forward that you won't be able to do this. And like I said, and I just said this, please, big corporations out there, take notes of this small team that really thought of everything and beyond to make these games, gameplay mechanics and innovations, and took it to a whole new level and took it maybe 5-10 years ahead of its time. What a way to redefine the RPG genre and to even convert people that never were hesitating on playing RPGs, on playing this game, and they rediscover how fun it could be with the right decisions made. Part 4. Quote, "We must accept things as they are, not how we want them to be." End quote. All right, people, it is time for spoiler tag. So this is your warning for those who haven't played the game and would like to step aside. Please do so. I will not feel bad. I said that I will. Just kidding. But this is your warning. If you want to skip this whole section, you can just go towards the last maybe 10-15 minutes of the episode, because I'm going to be here for a little bit. So again, for those who want to stop listening, go play the game, enjoy yourselves, and then come back and listen to the rest of the episode, because this is going to get heavy very quickly. So again, thank you very much for those who listen up until this point, and I'll see you guys after you finish the game so you can finish the episode then. So for you, take care. Daniel Want to Switcheroo, game on, you know the drill. And now the countdown is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're still here, please join me in my sorrow now. I mean, where can I begin? Geez, I mean, not only... And these are the moments that broke me in the game. This is pretty much what this section is called. And as we quoted in the beginning, we must accept things as they are, not how we want them to be. And this is such a strong sentiment, especially when you get towards the end of the game and you find yourself in a conundrum. But we'll get there. In the meantime, we mentioned earlier in the episode that the act that shook me the most, and it really gave me no clue of what was going to happen next, was the end of Act 1. And the fact that Samfall and this game had the spheres to kill the main character just like that. And you know, yeah, we probably spent time with Gustav for what, like 4 hours, maybe even less. And somehow we became so attached and so like connected with this character, his mission. For the love of God, he watched his love life vanish and turn into rose petals on his face in the Gamache in the beginning of the game. And that was already heartbreaking, only to know that he will be joining her very soon by the painted version of Renoir that is defending the paintress. And it's just, you get to that part and the whole acting. Can I just say that the acting of this game is unbelievable, and every single voice, both voice actor and motion capture person that bring these characters to life, standing ovation for you guys, because that is freaking livable. And this is just the beginning of things, because we get Gustav killed and we don't know what to do, and then suddenly this random guy just comes after to sweep in, and turns out that this is one of the most tragic characters in video game out there. And of course we're talking about Verso, and his whole mission and how you really question yourself whether his actions were good or bad, because at the end of the day, yes, he lied to everyone. He manipulated the actions to his bidding in order for him to get an answer to his turmoil, his never-ending turmoil, which was being a creation of a grieving mother and not letting them rest and not letting them let go. Not only that, not only you create a copy of your son that died on the fire, you're injecting with his memories, but at the same time you give this character the fact that he's not the original Verso. He's just a mere copy. His feelings, his actions are truly not his, and he thinks that, which, mind you, there could be a point of discussion that this could be truth or not. However, it was a fabricated life that he did not live. He was just there. So you can connect to the fact that he's not his own person, and whereas he's not at the same time, and you find yourself on this cycle, in this conflict of like, is this my real life? Is this how I want to live, on the shadows of somebody that died? And the reason that I was created in the first place is because of this person died. It was kind of like a consolation prize for my grieving mother, which in the end of the day, it's gonna hurt her the most, because it only is slowing down the process of she being killed and abandoning his real family. And also the fact that this whole time and up to Act 2, at the end of Act 2, when you realize that the world and the setting is not what we thought, it's just a mirror, a creation, a creation of how things should be, or how should we, the way we interpret life through a painting, and we brought it to life because we kind of face the reality of our real life. And other than the side that every single character you play in this game is basically a creation, a work of art, but doesn't that make them real? They're part of a canvas, a world that was created for the painters, which is the Sandra family. So the moment you decide to be done with the canvas, then you're done with all these characters. So here's the other question that you have on live. And by the way, guys, we're going to be a lot of rambling right now. I'm going to go back and forward because there's so many thoughts out there. But anyway, hence the question. Once you find out that the people, your characters you play with, the world that you interact with, is just a fiction of a grieving mother and a suffering father, do you care for these characters anymore? Are they considered valid human beings with feelings? My answer is yes, because we live and we feel for these characters that were created by these painters. These painters are basically their gods. And whether they decide to keep or erase the world to their bidding is how, like how most of like religions and lifestyles on the real world are based. So if you look at it through that context, we just experienced the apocalypse of the world at the very end of the game, whether you choose the Verso ending, that is. And it's just, up until this day, it goes back and forward, and it makes me realize, like, even the fact of Gustav's death, like, should I really care about Gustav's death? He wasn't even real in the first place. It's questions like this that, and things that keeps you thinking. And I haven't touched the game since I finished it. I finished it last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't remember. And I'm still thinking about it. I'm still watching videos about it. I'm still watching theories of people on what they think, what are their thoughts, reactions, and the debate that you see of people just going back and forward on the morality of the game and the message is just it's beautiful. I mean, when you have so much discussion on morals when it comes down to a video game, I think the video game made what it was supposed to be and did something unforgettable. And this is only scratching the surface. You know, we start with the history of Gustav and Mael, and we didn't realize how big, if not the biggest character, one of the biggest characters in the game was supposed to be Mael from the first place, and the key to all this. And her character evolution, or you should say maybe devolution, on how she is so tired of grieving, so tired of just feeling responsible for everything. And then, mind you, because she already was Alicia in the first place, and Alicia feels responsible for the death of his brother versus in the real life, so she gets herself lost in the mom's canvas to try to help his father to get the mom out of the canvas, because she was gonna get lost on it too. And then she ends up being reborn as Mael and having a life of its own, living with all these creations and characters that we now know and love, feeling real feelings, because the people in the paintings feelings are just as real as the people that created them, the Desandra family and the people outside the painting. So now you find yourself in this conundrum of, do you want to keep the life that you found in the painting on the canvas, or do you want to face reality? Mind you, Mael suffered permanent injuries on the fire while being saved by Berso. She lost her voice. Her face is completely scarred. She lost an eye. She's unhappy. She has all the reasons, all the valid reasons to submerge herself in this reality and live here the rest of her days. But then it wouldn't matter, because she will lose herself in this painting, but her real body, her real self will get lost with her and die. So this is the part where acceptance comes in, and we talked about this before with the Majora's Mask episode on season 1, and how we're dealing with grief and death and accepting reality when it doesn't go to our favor. I think this game really takes it to a whole different level, because it shows you so different perspectives. And just to think about that, all this time, which we thought was our main enemy, which is Renoir, was actually the voice of reason of the entire game. He was the hero, people. He was right. He was the one that was trying to prevent this from happening. The whole gomage and, killing spree each by year of the people in the painting in Lumiere, it was just Aline slowing down Renoir for just completely erasing the canvas, try to keep him away as much as possible, because every year her power gets weaker and weaker. So the only way for her to stop Renoir for just destroying the whole thing was to slow down the process. So the paintress acts were actually an act of mercy when you think about it, and it's literally the least a casualty, the least amount of consequence that could happen in this game, because we already saw it happen when we destroyed the paintress and we exposed Aline from the canvas. Everything just went bye-bye. And it just goes back to the other characters, the ones that are even involved on this whole mess. This is just a family discord that started the first place, but the real victims here are the people in the painting. We're talking about Lune, CL, Monoko, Eskie, And everybody else that we don't know, but they live and had real lives and had real conversations and real goals and aspirations, they're just feeling dismissed by just some family argument. And that is insane, because we connected so much with these characters for so long. We related to Ciel's struggles with grief and how she tried to end her life because she couldn't bear the fact that she lost her husband and her newborn child. We can relate to Lune, of how she spent her whole life doing research and trying to understand what's going on, just for the fact of making their parents proud and don't feel like a failure or a disappointment and live up to their approval. And so many real feelings that we can all identify, and then suddenly it just doesn't matter because it's not real. Is it though? I mean, you go back and forward, you can talk yourself in and out of any instance in this game so easily. I don't think there's exactly a wrong answer. I think there's just two well justified answers. In the end of the day, and in the end of the game, we find ourselves in the conundrum as Mael starts to realize that her father keeps planning to erase the canvas, and because she has lost so much both in the real world and in the painted world, she's just become stubborn and she says, no more. I don't want to lose anyone. I've been living with grief for so long in my life, and I've experienced so many times. I would not accept this. And once she comes to her senses and recovers her memories as the paintress Alicia, she understands that she's able to keep up with this, and it doesn't have to end like that. But then Renoir gets worried that her daughter might follow her mother's steps and became obsessed and lost in a world that doesn't exist and is not willing to move on and face the reality that she really is. And it begs the question again, what's real, and what's real, but more so, what's real for you? Because you can, all these sentiments, like I said, whether you are team painting or team real life, are extremely valid. This is not about dismissing the grief or how you feel about life and how you think things should be. It's about how can you live up with your decision, and in the end of the day, think yourself if you really did the right thing. At the end of the game, we find ourselves with Mael and Verso. Verso realizing this as we're about to face Renoir one last time, and then showing him how Aileen is basically losing her life and her health because she's been in the canvas for so long, that he then realizes that it's, like he already wanted to end things from the get-go, but this actually cemented the whole fact. And he then realizes that this is all started because of him painting this canvas in the first place with her sister Clair, which Clair can be a subject of her own. She's not very present in the game, but she's one of the most important characters, and actually this might be another episode of its own just to analyze the Desandra family on its own. But however, this is just Verso's canvas, who created this world, and then how Aline just took over and started painting over it when Verso died. And this is what the game and the story came to be. However, this is seen as an act of, kind of like you're taking over my art. You are stealing my work. And that's how Aline could be perceived. And when the artwork perspective, you're just not going to grab the Mona Lisa and make a little mustache and say, oh, that's mine now. You're insulting the artist in the first place. So yeah, this could be conceptualized in so many ways possible. But anyway, as Verso walks into sort of like a in between world between the painted world and the reality, and he realizes that he sees that piece of his soul, the little last piece of soul that Verso is lingering around, still painting the canvas non-stop, refusing to let go, but also forced to not let go by Aline, because then that would mean for her to completely lose her son and what it means. This kid, the faceless child that you find throughout the game, turns out to be Verso, and the little piece of soul that remained of him that Aline basically manipulated and used to unravel all the events of the game by creating the canvas and the world of Lumiere and its inhabitants. But then Asmael comes in and realizes the same thing, and Verso just wants to end it. He just wants to say, like, hey, listen, like, I'm tired. I know you're tired. I'm tired too. It's okay to stop and let go and move on. But then Mael just gets in the way, because again, she refuses to lose anyone anymore. Then you start to realizing that, oh my God, we're actually about to turn to her, or turn into Verso. We find ourselves in the question on deciding the fate of the canvas. Do we want to keep the painted life, and a life that will be painted forever and painted to your liking, but is not real? Or do you want to just end the cycle and learn to move on and start the healing process? And this is one of the decisions that was harder to make in the game. And when I played it the first time, I picked my L side first, because I was so connected to those characters, and I don't want to see the characters just die and disappear like that. But then I saw the ending, and it felt so dirty. It felt so fake. It felt so wrong just from the get-go. And I just had to go back and do it again and do it with Verso. And yes, the Verso ending is not any better. I mean, the guy died and the canvas is destroyed, but there's a sort of like a painful piece to it. It's because of the fact that we're not trying to make things right, or we're not trying to fix things. We're just accepting things as they are, so we can move on into what's next. And it really makes you think. Sometimes we don't have to always look for ways to fix or maintain something that is already broken. Sometimes it's better to accept the fact that it's broken, and once you let go of that grief, of that grudge, you will be able to move on. And I think that's the main message of this game, that no matter how harsh it could be, we can change the reality. We can reminisce and we can find good memories of it, but trying to relieve or trying to make up or lost ourselves in the thought of grief and alternate, realities, it won't do nothing but make you lose yourself and allow yourself to not move forward with your life and lose everything around you, and lastly, yourself. And when you do feel this way, and because there's gonna be times that, yes, we just want just to not continue, all I have to tell you is that everything's gonna be okay. You are okay. And at the end of the day, tomorrow comes. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we reach the end of this amazing episode. And I think it's not secret at this point of the way you guys hear me speak just now that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is currently my game of the year. Maybe my game of the decade. I have to say, I love Tears of the Kingdom. That's the greatest game of all time. Yes, because I'm Zelda biased, Nintendo biased, of course. But the fact that this came out of nowhere and I still talking about it, like, I like it more than all the Final Fantasy games that I played. I like it more than Nier. I like it more than Persona. Like, it's so many. It's incredible. Like, I never thought I was gonna get this same feeling that I will call a game the greatest of all time, and yet here we are. And it's just awesome. It's an awesome feeling that even after me, 35 years old, and I'm still finding some sort of passion on the art of video games, which is transcending even more, and is reaching to so many voices and so many people from different ages and different interests, and seeing them all here realizing the beauty of art represented in a video game is just something mind-blowing. We're talking about from movie directors to music composers and so on that be drawn into any aspect of this game. So to wrap it up, I just want to give my thanks to, first of all, Samfall Interactive. Leaving Ubisoft was the best freaking decision you guys made. So I want to congratulations on that. And I would like to say that you guys are brave and you guys are awesome, that you did not bend over to your corporate overlords and you weren't afraid to put your ideas out there. This game is the representation of passion and dedication, and when you give your developers the opportunity to express themselves and create art, this game is literally and figuratively a work of art on its own. And from the story to the game conception to the game development to the music, this is one of the best pieces of original soundtracks ever made, not just in video games, just ever made. I listened to this playlist over and over again. Lauren Testard, where were you, my friend? You are an amazing composer, and thank you very much for allowing us to listen to your masterpiece. And for the singer, which I'm not gonna bother to say her name because I'm gonna butcher it, amazing opera singer, just singer in general. The music of this game really makes you feel something, even if you don't understand the language completely. The fact that it still makes you feel these feelings is just unbelievable. And again, thank you for bringing this game to life and against all odds, with so many not so great things happening in the gaming world, layoffs, flops in games that could lead to people losing jobs. It really opens the window of opportunity for those who did end up caught in the crossfire of losing their jobs because of a poor performing game that was imposed by people in suits and ties that don't have a single slight of connection with the gamers and the community out there. You guys are proof that you can't be afraid to follow your dreams and to put your ideas and your art out there, because if you do it with passion and it's something that you're passionate about and you can see and it shows in game, you have nothing to worry about, because we as gamers and as the gaming community, we will back you up and we will support you until the end. So please, standing ovation to Samfall Interactive and all of its staff. Thank you so much for bringing this masterpiece to life. It really made an impact in me. It made the most impact in any game that has done in a very long time. I said this before and I'm saying it again. It's because it's just that good. And I will not take any single other game, not even Metroid Prime 4, to take the Game of the Year spot at the end of the year from this game. And that's saying a lot, because the only thing I can wish for at this point is for this game to come on the Switch too, so I can replay it again. So please, Samfall, make it happen. You guys won't regret that decision at all. But anyway, this is a very, very passionate episode. I haven't done one of these in a while, so thank you so much for listening, and I hope you agree with the sentiment. And, just to answer a couple of FAQs here about the game, my favorite character, of course, have to be Gustav, and at the beginning, and then I really, really grew attached to Monoko and CL in the end. I think CL is such an interesting character, and she's so smart and so self-aware of the situation. I really connect with her, and like when I had the chance to do that relationship building with Verzo, it really gave me a perspective of like how their way of thinking and how she's so calm and just aware of everything that's going on without being too much about it. So again, and Verso, after learning his tragic story, it came from like, wow, did this guy just got swapped with my favorite character to literally one of the most complex and well-crafted characters in any video game out there. And shout out to Ben Starr, my friend. There's a reason why you are everywhere right now. And this game, I want to say, this character, it's even miles ahead from Clive from Final Fantasy 16. So kudos to you, and kudos to your success. And also, can we talk about how Gustav was voiced by Charlie Cox, aka Daredevil? And he was just in the studio for 4 hours, and he even in an interview said that he didn't even play the game. He's not a gamer, and people keep like congratulating him for the game, but he's like, I feel like a fraud because I haven't played the game or anything. I just went to the studio for 4 hours, took a job, and came back. And literally, like, one of his best pieces of work is in a video game, and he doesn't even play it. So it's kind of ironic. But anyway, I hope this opened his eyes to do a little bit more of this. What a great actor. And again, every single actor, Miles, Lunes, like every single one of them, what a great cast of voice actors out there. And for the motion captures, how they bring their emotions to life on the characters and the movement, it feels so real, which, yeah, you can bring the discussion of like, yeah, it's not as polished or as realistic looking as other like AAA games that we've seen years prior. But I feel like the emotion and the expression of the characters look so clean, and somehow you connect a little bit even more than other games that came before. But yeah, this is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, guys, my game of the year, right behind Split Fiction, and right ahead of Split Fiction, I should say. Sorry, baby, I know that's our game, but I have to give it to Clair Obscur because it's just something else. It's something else. It's something that's going to stick with me for a very, very, very long time. But anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. I really appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for your continued support with the podcast. We are almost halfway of the season. So more episodes yet still to come. So please be on the lookout. And what I've been playing so far, as we discussed in the very end, of course, I've been playing a lot of my Switch 2 that came out, and I love it to bits. A lot of Mario Kart World, a lot of Breath of the Wild. We are rediscovering that game now with the performance enhancements and Zelda notes. It's like a whole different experience. So me and my husband are playing it on tandem, which is awesome. And it's nice to see how we used to do things in Breath of the Wild, and now we're so spoiled by all the conveniences that Tears of the Kingdom brought to the table. But sometimes you need to remember your roots. So please play Breath of the Wild once again with the improvements. And if you haven't played Breath of the Wild at all, then now this is your chance, because it's the best version of the game it could be. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And if there's any game that hits you like this one, please let me know in the comments. Please let me know in social media. You guys know where to find me. 12switcheroo in all social platforms. And please, I want to hear your thoughts about this game and how it changed you, if it did, that is. And really hope to see you guys on the next episode. And for that, thank you very much for listening, everyone. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe out there. And please stay cool too, because it's very hot right now on this summer, at least here in New York City. So please get your bottle of waters and stay hydrated. This is Daniel, aka One to Switcheroo, signing off. Game on.